I feel like I'm all alone on a desert island when it comes to this Anderson Silva versus Israel Adesanya fight. I'm truly surprised by the narrative I'm seeing from most fans and media members online when it comes to this one. In a lot of cases, people are talking like the Spider is a sacrificial lamb being led to slaughter against the young lion that is the last stylebender. As I've mentioned in the past, us MMA fans aren't exactly known for our elephant-like memory spans, and a lot of our perceptions are based on, what have you done for me lately? So I guess I shouldn't be totally shocked by this commentary, given the fact that Adesanya is basically the new age Anderson Silva, who is coming off of an incredible 2018, rattling off 4 wins, 2 of which came in very impressive fashion, versus Anderson Silva, who hasn't competed in 2 years. But I still can't help but feel a little disconcerted. Full disclosure, I'm a longtime diehard Anderson Silva fan. I've been following the man's career very closely since 2008. I became aware of him when he debuted against Chris Lieben, which at the time caught everybody's attention. After that fight, Spike TV did a poll on their website asking who the Spider should fight next. And that poll overwhelmingly voted in favor of Anderson taking on then champion Rich Franklin, who at the time I truly thought was unbeatable. And well, we all saw how that went, as well as 2 more dominant victories in between Silva beating Franklin, even worse than he did the first time. I always remember the first fight of Silva's that I was highly anticipating when he took on Dan Henderson to unify the UFC and Pride 185-pound championships. I've traveled long and far many times to see him fight, and to even attend seminars of his. The reason I say all this is because I'm acknowledging I may have a certain degree of bias, but I still feel like despite that, I'm able to look at this situation objectively while putting my feelings aside. And with that being said, I don't think for a second that this is some sort of squash match. In fact, I could absolutely see Anderson winning this fight. Don't get me wrong though, anybody who has ever watched or listened to work of mine in the past knows that I'm very high on Israel Adesanya and have been singing his praises since before he made his UFC debut. I'm a really big fan of the sport of professional kickboxing, and Adesanya's career in that world has been remarkable. It's not even just about the highlight reel of his pro career, but I always had a huge appreciation for the fact that he also holds an amateur kickboxing record of 32-0, which is something I find a lot of people tend to not give enough attention to. I'm a believer of Adesanya, and I think he is as dangerous of a fight that Silva could possibly have right now, and I also think that he's the future. He's definitely one of my very favorite fighters right now, which is what makes this match so polarizing. But I think these people writing Silva off are completely out to lunch. Is he a speed slower than he was in his heyday? Absolutely. Are his reflexes the same as they were during his title reign? Of course they aren't. But damn it, he still possesses that skill set, and as relevant as that point, he still possesses the desire to compete against the best mixed martial artists on the planet. To be as short as I possibly can about his last few fights, versus Brunson, he didn't look bad at all. I feel like he was trying too hard to get that highlight reel finish, if anything. Brunson was visibly tentative and didn't engage like he normally does. I believe that if he were to engage more, the fight would have been different. I'm not claiming that Silva would have scored that highlight reel KO for certain, but the odds of it happening would have increased exponentially. The fight versus Cormier, the former light heavyweight champion and current heavyweight champion, was a complete wash. He took that bout on a few days' notice, just a month removed from emergency gallbladder surgery, in which he was still sporting the scar from. Though it's worth noting, only one person in that bout had a moment where they got hurt, and it was the guy who was preparing for months ahead of time for a 5-round fight with John Jones. And the fight against Bisping, the man who went on to win the middleweight title just 4 months afterwards, was an amazing fight in which the Spider created a number of highlight reel moments. I'm not here to make this argument, but it's also a fight that the vast majority of the fans at the time thought that Silva should have got the nod in. A bout that happened in the victor's backyard of all places. Am I crazy? Has my years of fandom over this particular fighter completely clouded my vision and now I'm just hopelessly delusional? Just to reiterate, I absolutely love Adesanya. Everything about him. I love the person he is. I love his mindset, his demeanor. I love him in interviews, but above all else, and most importantly, I'm a fan of what he does in the cage. He is a scary individual. But I do think a prime Anderson Silva beats this version of Adesanya. But I acknowledge the days of prime Anderson Silva are behind us. There's also the fact that the days of prime Adesanya aren't even here yet. So where does that leave us? I guess we're going to find out on Saturday night. I 100% believe that Silva can win this fight. This is just one of those ones where it's too far out to be able to make a prediction. But skill sets and stages of respective careers aside, if nothing else, I would think a lot more people would be picking Anderson Silva to win this fight just based off the very fact that it's when we feel so sure about a certain outcome and when it seems as though the result of a future bout is a foregone conclusion that the MMA gods put us right back in our place.